Welcome, welcome, welcome to Friendly Differences 2.0. Happy Saturday. I am your outspoken host, Dread Empath, and with me, as always,
Solid Blue Sister.
I want to thank everyone for being here on this sunny Saturday. How are you, Solid? Is it
I am
nice
good.
over there?
In southern, sunny, cloudy, cold, rainy California, Southern California, it is good. I woke up today, so it's a good day.
Okay, well, it's sunny and cold here in Pennsylvania. It was 70 degrees the other day, and now it's 30. And on Friday, it's supposed to snow. So, anyway, yeah, Mother Nature winter is like, I'm leaving, forget all of y'all. But then she come back and say, and another thing.
And another thing, always something, always something.
So, today, folks, we are going to rehash it. January 6th, was it an insurrection? Was it a protest? Now, depending on who you're talking to a Trump supporter, it was a protest. You talking to someone on the left, far left, it was a protest. But if you're talking to someone who's rational and non-biased, it was an insurrection. It was an insurrection. What's so funny, Solid? Talk
I'm
to me.
just no,
What's so funny?
I'm laughing because you say you talk to someone who is rational, but you have people who consider themselves rational and think and who were part of the protest, the insurrection, and think it was a peaceful protest. So, you know,
That, ma'am, is what we call hypocrites because those are the same people. And I'm so sick of it. I am so sick of them saying how much damage Black Lives Matter did in the year of 2020. Now, I do not condone I do not condone any violent protests, any destruction of public or private property. If you're going to protest, you can stage a sit-in. You can, 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever. You can do those forms of peaceful protest. When you start to bring harm to the community and to people, it is no longer a protest, it is an insurrection. And an insurrection is defined as civil unrest against government or authoritative or people in authority. That's not word for word verbatim, but what we saw on January 6, 2021 was in fact an insurrection. People died.
so can we start off with a with a video?
Let's do it.
Oh boy. All right. We're gonna start off with Tuckums.
There is some confusion about who exactly was at the Capitol on January 6th. Was it really a gang of white supremacists?
The crowd was overwhelmingly white males. Some of them would try to recruit me. One of them came up to me and said, "Are you my brother?"
One woman in a pink MAGA shirt yelled, "You hear that, guys? This nigger voted for Joe Biden." Then the crowd joined in screaming, "Boo, fucking nigger."
What crimes under the U.S. Code have they committed?
U.S. Code, Title 18, Part 1, Chapter 113, B as in Brown, Section 2331. The term domestic terrorism means activities that involve acts dangerous to human life that are a violation of the criminal laws of the United States to affect the conduct of a government by mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping.
So what exactly was the FBI's role in January 6th, and why can't we know?
All of them were telling us Trump sent us. Nobody else. There was nobody else. It was not Antifa. It was not Black Lives Matters. It was not the FBI. It was his supporter that he sent them over to the Capitol.
Okay, so first I want to go through this BLM Antifa thing, because Fox News was all over it was BLM, it was Antifa, it was Antifa, it was BLM, it was BLM. But then when they realized that narrative wasn't going to play anymore, all of a sudden it went from being this violent, just, oh my God, these black people and this Antifa and BLM, they're just so violent to, oh, it was a peaceful protest, and then Tucker made sure that he, the video that he showed were people who were peacefully walking, being escorted out of the Capitol. And I had someone who literally had not seen anything, it was November. They had not seen anything but what Tucker Carlson was showing and what they were showing on Fox News. And I'm like, go back and see what everybody else was seeing, the whole world was seeing on January 6th. So
I remember that day. And I have friends in Baltimore, friends and family in DC. And all I can remember, and this was when I was still engaging in extracurricular activities. So I thought that I was bugging. I was sitting I was like this. I called somebody. I said, turn on the news, because I know this is not what I'm seeing. I never thought that in my lifetime I would watch a group of people. I think that we should let our viewers know you're not even allowed on the lawn of the Capitol. There are certain places in DC. Once you get to this certain place, you start getting rerouted down different streets, because you're not allowed to go near the Capitol, near the White House, so on and so forth. These people made it to not just on the lawn, in the Capitol. We watched this live. I watched them chant live, hang Mike Pence.
Well, I do want to make a correction that you are allowed by the Capitol, because you do take tours and what have you. So you are allowed there. And by the way, y'all, you all go to their cafeteria. It's some of the best food ever. But anyway,
right.
But you are allowed. I mean, people are allowed at the Capitol. They are.
But that day, they were not. Nobody. Come on, all of those politicians.
But you're right. On that particular day, they weren't. And to see people violently, pulling back those gate thingies, the gate things that they had up, whatever. You're fighting with the police, and the thing that again just makes me laugh is when people say, well, BLM. If it was BLM, we would not have gotten past the street 5 blocks over, and it would have been a whole bunch of black bodies, shot dead. And the world knows this. The world knows this. This is a fact. So having said that, can I play another video really quick?
Absolutely.
Quote, Mark, the president needs to tell people in the Capitol to go home. This is hurting all of us. He is destroying his legacy, Laura Ingraham wrote.
The Capitol was under siege by people who can only be described as antithetical to the MAGA movement. Now, there were likely not all Trump supporters, and there are some reports that Antifa sympathizers may have been sprinkled throughout the crowd.
Please get him on TV. Destroying everything you have accomplished, Brian Kilmeade texted.
About how I feel about the whole thing, I just thought the tone, the attitude of defiance played out in the Capitol. The lack of security stunned me. I do not know Trump supporters that have ever demonstrated violence that I know of in a big situation.
Quote, can he make a statement? Ask people to leave the Capitol, Sean Hannity urged.
They knew there were hundreds of thousands of people that came to town. We also knew that there's always bad actors that will infiltrate large crowds. I don't care if they're radical left, radical right. I don't know who they are. They're not people I would support.
One of the president's sons texted Mr. Meadows, quote, he's got to condemn this shit ASAP. The Capitol Police tweet is not enough, Donald Trump Jr. texted. Donald Trump Jr. texted again and again, urging action by the president. Quote, "We need an Oval Office address. He has to lead now. It has gone too far and gotten out of hand." End quote.
If you were to take his speech and compare it to literally any stump speech, you would see absolutely no deviation. But again, because the Democrats have the media in their pocket, carrying whatever message, they can go on with impeachment part deux.
Yeah, you sound like duh.
Duh.
So again, Laura Ingraham, and I heard that there were Antifa people, sympathizers, whatever. I mean, it's like they just cannot resist throwing in something about Antifa. And by the way, y'all, Antifa is a frame of mind. Okay,
It's
so
not even a group.
It is not a group. And if that's the case, I'm gonna put this out here. I'm Antifa because Antifa stands for people who want what is right. They want fairness. They want democracy. So while y'all MAGA people run around talking about the Second Amendment and you all want to be treated fairly and stuff, y'all are Antifa too. So
The problem I have is, first of all, they tried to make Ashley Babbitt a martyr. Ashley Babbitt is the white woman who was she was a military person, a veteran, and she came from from California, where Solid is, to Washington D.C., which is roughly 3,000 miles, give or take, because from New York to California is 3,000 miles. She came 3,000 miles to break the law, a federal law.
But you also had people crossing from Canada over into the United States to cross a border to break the law.
The law. Now, this is what I suggest everyone go back to, because I watched this live as well. Who remembers the Black Lives Matter protest for George Floyd down Washington, D.C.? I remember, because Trump decided that he was going to mace and tear gas them so he could stand in front of that church and hold the Bible upside down.
That was on June 1st in Liberty Square. Yes.
And I remember sitting here thinking, what did they do wrong? And that always brings me to my next point. They were peacefully protesting. Nobody was breaking anything. Nobody was destroying anything. He had SWAT and everybody out there getting those people out of there. But he couldn't call anybody for January 6th. Solid, I'm going to tell you something that happened. And this is why we should not discuss politics at work. I have a coworker that no longer speaks to me because he tried to say that, well, Ashley Babbitt didn't deserve to lose her life. And I said, take it on the chin, buddy. She was committing a crime. Black people have died for less. She was in the Capitol and she was participating in an insurrection. So what do all Trump supporters try to do, folks? He tried to deflect. He tried to deflect and say Nancy Pelosi could have called the National Guard. I said, no. I said the president calls the National Guard in the event of an insurrection, in the event of civil unrest. He said, no, he doesn't. So we have these wonderful things called phones. So I pulled up Insurrection Act. And guess what I found out? I found out that on March 3rd, 1807, the Insurrection Act was put onto the books. And in the event of civil unrest, the president can call up the National Guard. And I sent them a nice little screenshot with a smiley face. And I said, no hard feelings. Next time, do your research. But he was so quick to try to minimize what happened at the Capitol. And I said, okay, Ashley Babbitt died in the commission of a federal crime. Why are we not talking about Brian Slicknick, the DC Capitol police officer that got hit in his head with a fire extinguisher? And by the way, he voted for President Trump. Ex-President Trump. He voted for him, but he was doing his job. Isn't it funny how Blue Lives Matter? They didn't matter that day.
Well, you know, and I was just about to say that, because you have a lot of conservatives who are like, Blue Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. But, you know, there were police officers in that MAGA group, in that Trump violent insurrection, that were, where, if Blue Lives Matter, then why are you hitting your own brother? I mean, just tell me that. You know, and do Blue Lives Matter, does it depend on whether they're a black blue or a white blue or a Latino blue or an Asian blue? I mean, does it matter? And people are going to say,
Blue Lives Matter.
You know, you talking about race and whatever, but race, unfortunately, played a factor in January 6th. Not, I won't say necessarily on that day, but the way it was handled. The way it was handled, because if it was BLM, the police would have been called. They would have been there.
Oh, absolutely.
So this is another reason why I say that, you know, while people say Antifa, whatever, the fact still stands is, if it was a whole bunch of black people run up to the Capitol with tear gas and mask on and brass tip boots and all this other stuff and mace and what have you, the National Guard would have been there, the police would have been there, the Army, the Navy, the Marines, everybody would have been there, and a whole bunch of black folks would have been shot. Tell me that I'm wrong, because if you really believe that I am wrong, shame on you. And having said that, I want to lead into one more video.
Punches were thrown, a brief scuffle, but that's where the police confrontation with protesters ended in the moments before the Capitol was breached. This was last May in San Jose, a Black Lives Matter rally. Kayla Sanderlin remembers a very different outcome when her husband, Derek, was shot in the groin with rubber bullets.
My husband was 30 feet away from the line of officers and was holding a sign that said, "We are worthy of life," and was not inciting any violence at all, and he was shot.
Bay Area organizers from last year's Black Lives Matter rallies say the same thing, that images like these are very different from the ones they experienced on the ground.
If it were black protesters, we wouldn't have been shot. Like, just right then and there, it would have been a massacre.
A lot of activists saying that if the protesters yesterday were black, they would be dead. Do you believe that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we would all be dead. It would be a spray of bullets.
This is the kind of painful contrast Day and others are talking about. This was from a protest in Oakland last summer after the shooting of Jacob Blake. Protesters were arrested for throwing rocks and bottles at officers. Police, dressed in riot gear, tear gas fired. This from inside the Capitol right before offices were ransacked. One police officer armed with a stick, unable to hold back protesters as they advanced inside.
You saw that he was scared, and he has every right to be scared, because these are white men and probably white women as well that really don't care.
For Sanderlin, Brown, and Day, they say watching these images have been re-traumatizing, but also validation of what they've experienced firsthand, an ugly double standard embedded deep in this country.
I think it communicates that they see white people as valuable and non-white people as not valuable.
What did she say? Now, what did I say? What did I say? I do not condone violence. Throwing rocks and bottles, they were arrested. You got what your hand called for. But throwing rocks and bottles got people arrested, tear gas, mace. But somehow or another,
and going head to head with police officers.
Right.
And I also want to point out, while people are so quick to say, oh, well, the violent, protests, the BLM of 2020, da 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 da. Don't forget that you also had the Michigan when they went to the state capitol in Michigan, and they literally brought guns into the state capitol and were literally in the face of other officers and telling them, just almost just spitting in their face practically for what they were saying, that you could probably feel the spittle of their words. And, it had guns and stuff, but BLM, like you said, throwing bottles and rocks. And again, I don't condone that. You do it, you get in trouble, you get what's coming. But don't sit up here and tell me that there's not a double standard. And that's the problem with this country. Acknowledge what it is, because it's going to, and then again, I'm going to say these same people, these same Trump people who breach the Capitol violently are the first people to say, well, y'all need to stop talking about slavery. It was 60 years ago. It was 400 years ago. Get over it. Stop talking about Emmett Till, get over it. But while you all continue to do this stuff, you all continue to repeat the same actions. So you want us to get over it? Why don't you get over things first? Why don't you acknowledge what you're doing? There is a double standard in this country, and just showing between the Capitol and the protest of 2020 and 2021 proves the point over and over and over again.
And I want to point this out, because I'm going to keep repeating this because I couldn't believe that it was said out loud on a public forum on TikTok. When a man said, if Trump doesn't get elected, January 6th will seem like a walk in the park. Don't try me. And I asked him, is that a threat? But I want y'all to understand the gravity and the privilege of that statement. You mark my words that if Trump does not get reelected, there will be security back to back in every state, or at least I hope it will, because nobody would have been worried if Barack Obama didn't get elected. Nobody's worried I'm worried if Joe Biden doesn't get elected, but for different reasons. But nobody's worried about 6, 7, 8, 900 black people storming the Capitol or anywhere or anything of the sort. One, we wouldn't dare, because there would be a spray of bullets. If there were a group of Muslims, they would not have survived. Those white people, they survived because of their privilege. The fact that I had a white man say to me, y'all bet if Trump doesn't get elected, January 6th will seem like a walk in the park. Now, the question is, do you believe him solid? Do you believe that they will do it again?
Oh, yeah, definitely. January 6th was a training session. I absolutely believe that they will do it again, or at least they will try. I absolutely believe that if Trump is not able to occupy the White House and the Oval Office again, that his supporters will start going out, and it'll be the civil rights summer all over again. But I will tell you this. I think y'all gonna be in for a surprise.
Is that a challenge? Solid.
It's not a challenge. I'm just saying, I think they're going to be in for a surprise, because for some reason, Trump supporters and conservatives and some white people think that they're the only ones that know how to do certain things.
Y'all ain't the only one. Hey, listen, the Second Amendment right is for all Americans.
And I'm not just referring to Second Amendment. I'm just saying, But it's like when Trump occupied the Oval Office in 2016, we heard a lot of "get over it," Hillary lost, "get over it," snowflake, this, and this, and this. Why couldn't you get over it in 2020? Oh, the election was stolen, and then it's and it's interesting to me how this man is still saying election stolen, election was stolen, election was stolen. The man said in March of 2019, if I don't win, the election was stolen. A vote hadn't even been cast yet.
But he had already planted the seed.
Yes, and that's but that's the thing. And these seeds.
If I win, it's legit. If I lose, it's rigged.
And the thing about it is again, I'm tired of hearing snowflake, and liberals, you all believe everything, whatever. But it's like, I'm sorry, y'all. These Trump supporters are some of the most
dense, crazy, delusional. They follow QAnon. They're QAnon supporters. These are the same people who said that President Trump will be back in the office by August of 2021. Kind of late, ain't he?
I'm just saying. So again, you look at January 6th and the fact that he even wants to pardon, Trump wants to pardon people who were convicted. You went against the government. It was an insurrection. It was violent. Yes, and Ashley Babbitt, again, she tried to, she broke a window, or she was climbing through a broken window to get access to the House floor. There were police officers there. You got shot.
Wait, I'm sorry. We have to ask the same questions that are asked when one of us get killed. I need the whole story. Why didn't she comply? Why didn't she just put her hands up? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
I mean, and you have a very good point, because the other thing is, there has to be more to the story.
There has to be more to the story.
There has to be more to the story.
I'll reserve judgment until I find out the entire story.
Exactly.
Because, the police are there to protect us and to enforce laws. And if they would just comply and cooperate and not be so aggressive, this person would still be alive. And I'm gonna love it. I hope that we get somebody in the comments, somebody that
I'm really hoping that we do, because I'm watching and we have 81 people who are watching.
Oh,
but
welcome.
But the comments are very, very quiet. So I'm just waiting for somebody to say something, because unless they're reserving whatever. But also, everyone, just know, we put a word out for people who believed that January 6th was a peaceful protest. It was not an insurrection. I'm not even going to say peaceful protest. We put a word out saying that if you did not believe it was an insurrection, you thought it was something else, we invited them to come on the show. That they can come on, but they had to show their face. They had to be on video. So I guess some of these people, they're just going to sit back and listen in to the show, which is fine. But we did put the call out, because we don't want to come across as one-sided, because we both believe that it was an insurrection.
It wasn't. There's no belief in it. Belief is like going on faith. Okay, we're gonna talk stone cold facts. If those people had stood outside, even in the street, and yelled Trump, 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 that would have been peaceful. If they had stood out there for hours and out, well, they did. 3, almost 4 hours that Trump watched the destruction of his colleagues of his colleagues. And he told them, Solid, I wish you had got that video. We are going to march down to the Capitol and kick ass. That's what he told them. He knew what he was doing. It was not peaceful. When you have loss of life and bodily harm, it is no longer peaceful. There's a police officer, last name Falcone. He had to retire. They tased this man. He had a heart attack. What we're not talking about is the subsequent police officers who committed suicide after January.
Okay,
6th.
and if I'm correct, Falcone is the one that has the tattoos, right?
Yeah, he's covered in tats.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Okay, he had to retire from the PTSD. There were officers who took their own lives afterwards. There was so much damage done. That was not it. And don't get me wrong, there have been times where things started out as peaceful and it went somewhere else. This didn't start out as peaceful. Anytime you have pitchforks, bear mace, flagpoles, a rope that was turned into a noose, and firearms. They like to say that there were no firearms. That is false. That is false. There were quite a few people there who had sidearms. Nobody is in prison right now because the evidence was circumstantial.
Okay, but you also have people who say that, which doesn't make sense to me. They're like, there were no, they didn't find any guns or anything. Well, first of all, DC has a gun law that you cannot bring guns into DC unless you're a law enforcement person. Okay, having said that, just because you don't have guns and rifles and AKs and everything like that doesn't mean that you can't be violent.
I saw a video. The guy was covered in a mask. He had on tactical gear because, let's face it, you can buy it anywhere. He had a sidearm. Did I see him in the Capitol? No. Headed toward the Capitol? Yes. I did see someone.
There were people there that had sidearms and everything. But again, I am going to say, just because you do not have a gun does not mean that you are not violent.
Right.
I mean,
that's aggravated assault. You hit somebody
seriously. How many people are beat up without having a gun? How many? Come on. That right there it just doesn't make any sense. It totally just doesn't make any sense.
They have to justify it. They keep pushing the finish line further and further away. What did they try to say? It was Black Lives Matter. It was Antifa. We saw one black guy there, his goofy self standing there in the chamber. It was Antifa. It was Black Lives Matter. But when they saw, like you said, when they saw that couldn't play, what happened? Now we blurring out faces because, we don't want these people to face justice or punishment. Why? Especially when the Republican Party is supposed to be the party of law and order. Why don't you want these people who broke federal laws, who tried to interfere, who threatened to hang the then vice president? Why don't y'all want them to face justice for that?
So let's talk about Mike Pence for a moment.
Oh, Lord.
Why do you think that I don't know if it was because at the time he was going to run for president. He didn't want to not have people support him. But why do you think he backed down and didn't want to testify in front of the January 6th Commission? This is a man who was rushing out of the Capitol and who also refused to get in the car because they said if he gets in the car, they weren't going to bring him back.
Mike Pence committed career suicide. And that's just the ins and out of it. But Trump supporters are violent. They are. They will dox people. They will find out where someone lives. Look what happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband. They beat the poor man with a hammer.
Okay, and once again, they didn't have a sidearm, but
they didn't have a sidearm, but he had to go to the hospital for getting beat up with a hammer.
Yeah.
Just like when
and right away, people were making fun of him. People were making hammer time jokes. You know, but if it were, I mean, I'm sorry. I think that's disgusting. You know, but yet if it were someone on the right, oh my God, can you hear the jokes that they're saying? Oh my God. But see, the first thing that people on the right and conservatives want to do is, you all can't take a joke. We were just playing.
Oh, listen. You want to be funny? I could be hilarious. Because I would have, you know, just like they made jokes, I would have been like, that's the nail. Where's the hammer? Okay. But yeah, they did that. But Mike Pence, if you notice, he's dropped off. He ain't said nothing. This is another big election.
Well, he did come out a couple of weeks ago and said that he was not going to support Trump, that he was not going to vote for him. Or he didn't say he was not going to vote. He said he was not going to endorse him. But I think that Pence made a bad move in accepting the call to be vice president under Trump. I think he did it as a power move, meaning that, you know, maybe one day I will be in this spot, because either way, whether you supported Trump or you didn't support Trump, he was screwed. Pence was just in a bad, his position was just he was not going to win either way. But for me, if someone's going to sit up here and say, hang solid, hang solid, hang solid, I'm going to be the first one knocking at the door of the January 6th commission. Hello, you haven't called me yet. Hey, you know, whatever. Right. I would have been, yeah. So that's that's just something that
but it's levels to this. You have to understand something. I'm not going to pat him on the back for doing his job. I'm not going to say, oh, he.
You are frozen, Dread. Okay, so Dread is frozen. So if you can hear me, go out and come back in, because you are frozen. In fact, hold on, let me do this. All right. So, but anyway, guys, you know, there's no way, you know, that I would have someone say to me, or have a group of people saying, hang Mike Pence, and then he doesn't do anything. I mean, to me, that also shows, you know, that he was a bit of a wuss. But again, I think that Mike Pence was in a bad spot, you know. But January 6th should also be a what do I want to say? January 6th should be a teachable moment for the entire country. Not only for the entire country, but also for the entire world, because over in Russia this weekend, they are having the polls are open to vote for a new president. And if Putin were to win, it would be his 6th straight term as president, and he would be in office until 2030. And over in Russia, you have to be on the approved list. You have to be approved. You have to be approved to run for president. So this should be a lesson for the entire country.
Guys.
This should be a lesson for the entire country, for the entire world. You know, what happened on January 6th because it was disgusting. It was, or as Hillary Clinton says, it was deplorable.
I like that word.
And I want to talk about Hillary for a moment. I was a Hillary supporter. I'm still a Hillary supporter. I would vote for her again. But while people can laugh and all this other stuff, our country would be in a completely different state right now if Hillary Clinton were president. It would not be as divided as it is now. It wouldn't be all this hateful chaos, because when Trump came down that escalator in 2015, it unleashed some of the ugliness that this country has ever seen. And it culminated in January 6th. So, Dred?
A says, just wait until it's in the history books. It will be a warped narrative. We have to, we as the unbiased people, and you know what? We are biased, but we are also rational. And those of us who are rational, we have to remember that we have to tell the whole story. Because you got to put it, I'll put it to you like this. You have Fox News and you have CNN.
Well, CNN is kind of...
Okay, you have Fox News and you have MSNBC.
That's better.
But then you have C-SPAN.
Mm-hmm.
C-SPAN is going to tell everything.
Mm-hmm.
C-SPAN is going to say, the Democrats did that, the Republicans did that, this person, they're going to tell it all.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for history to be preserved, we have to be C-SPAN, even when it hurts. Even when it hurts to say, the people that I supported, they got this wrong. The people that I voted for, they didn't do this right. Even when it hurts, we have to remain rational, because irrationality has hurt this country. If Hillary had gotten elected, we wouldn't be here talking about January 6th.
No, we wouldn't.
We wouldn't. We wouldn't be in a place where women are facing criminal charges for making a decision that involves our bodies. We worry more about a woman getting an abortion than children getting murdered at school. So as long as they're in the womb, they're safe. But when they're out of the womb, that's it. And Trump did a lot of this. What did he do? He told them, they're coming for your guns. They're coming for your guns. It's Antifa. It's Black Lives Matter. It's the migrants. Shut the borders, build the wall. So people who have been in this country for 20, 25 years, they have an accent. So what's the first thing that a Trump supporter says? Go back to your country, not realizing that they've been here 30 years already, and this is their country too.
Well, I mean, and can I also say, go back to your country, because excuse me, didn't your great grandmother immigrate from Italy, immigrate from Poland? Didn't they immigrate from Europe, whatever? So go back to your country too, because technically the only people who should be here are Native American, Indigenous, and Black people.
Amen.
And I say Black people because we were here. So, and there's one thing else that I want to bring up, Dred.
Let's hear it.
And I know we're going to do a show on this, but it's just something that, while I was thinking about this whole January 6th thing, January 6th divided the country even more. It divided the country even more.
It did.
But as I was going back and I was listening to, which I cannot stand looking at him, I cannot stand his voice, cannot stand listening to Trump at all. He said at one point when he was running in 2016 that most of the murders committed against white people. He actually used this percentage. 80% of white people are killed by black people.
That's false, people.
And people in his crowd were, yeah. And first of all, that's extremely false, because in terms of people getting killed, most white people are killed by other white people. Most black people are killed by other black people. Most Latinos are killed by other black people. They're killed by people within their own
demographic.
Color, their own demographic.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's about proximity.
But the thing, it's like, you are saying something right there to divide, but then he turns around and he wants to get the black vote. I'm going to have 100% of the black vote. Really? Because, I'm like, you didn't have mine. So mine. Again, when you look at things that divide and people on the right, and yes, I keep saying the right, because this is what I see is mostly the people on the right. However, people on the left, I am well aware that Joe Biden has said some racist things. Joe Biden has been in office a long time. I have heard some of the things that Joe Biden said when he was running for president back in 1988. I have heard some of the things that Joe Biden has said about black people. But the thing about it, everyone, is that what you have to realize, I said this to somebody responding on TikTok yesterday, whether you're Republican or Democrat, most of the divisiveness in this country, most of the racism in this country has come from somebody white. So
that part,
but January 6th, it was disgusting. It was deplorable. Shame on you. And the whole crowd should have been arrested and jailed, my opinion. Dredd?
Marlon says, the truth is meant to divide, not unify. I disagree, sir.
I also disagree.
And I'm going to tell you why. We are all part of the 99%. This problem with rent, mortgages, gas, food, necessities are not a black and white issue. It's a human issue. And as Lyndon B. Johnson said, you convince the lowest white man that he is better than the best black man, and he won't be able to feel you picking his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
That is the truth. The truth is, Trump is yelling about inflation, but you're taking money from your supporters who can't put food on their table, who are working 60 and 70 hours a week to make ends meet. The truth is meant to unify. Lies divide us. Just like Solid just said, he said that 100% of white people who get killed are killed by
80%.
I'm sorry, 80. When in all actuality, 92% of black people who get killed by other black people. 83% of white people who get killed by other white people. That right there demolishes the whole black on black crime.
Well, not only that, you also, and again, I know we're going to talk about this, on when we do this show. A lot of white people have not even been around black people. A lot of white people get their information on black people from the media.
Yeah,
whether it's MSNBC, whether it's CNN, whomever Fox, whomever you listen to, BBC, most of their information comes from the media or from some stereotypical TV show or something. So, but most white people have not even been around black people ever. And we are all witness to that. When I travel, when I'm around people, it's like, it's like.
Marlon says, if you speak the truth, most people don't want to hear it. That's true. That's what I meant. Obviously it's meant to unify, but long-term telling the truth is harmful. Telling the truth would be harmful to the government, not to us.
It would be harmful if to someone like Martin Luther King, whatever, who they want to assassinate, whatever. But telling the truth should be a teachable moment. And I am
It
all
is.
for telling the truth, because a lot of people, especially the younger people, do not want to hear the truth. And when I say younger people, I'm talking millennial on down. They don't want to hear. Hold on, because in 2016, the millennials, in my opinion, whether they were on the left or the right, they showed their behind. And the way they were talking about, oh, boomers are older, or oh, you all of this and you all of that, you know, okay, all right, y'all just watch. Y'all watch and get a teachable moment. And now we're in this teachable moment.
I don't know what you're talking about. I voted in 2016, and
No,
I ain't got nothing.
I'm not. You know,
I ain't say
again,
no. Listen, we will
making,
have a boomer versus millennial moment. Okay, we can get it there solid, and I can show you. I can show that's another show.
And I
show
can show
hands.
you.
Who want to see that?
Okay, all right, and we can show each other. You know,
okay,
but
I can show you where y'all went wrong.
Okay, and I can show you where y'all went wrong.
How we going wrong? Y'all the ones that can buy a house. We can't. Yeah.
And I can show you. Right. Yeah, I can show you where you went wrong. You know, but again, that's another. that's another show. That is another show. You know, but right now we are in a. I wish you hadn't said that, Marlon, because see, you're gonna make me reply.
No. Let's wrap it up. Let's go. No.
Then you
Marlon,
okay.
No.
As you know, if the ballot actually didn't get into the box, it wasn't a vote. So
solid.
Nope. If you can put it out there, if you can open the door, I'm walking through. Yep.
We're going to talk about this backstage. Mars, I got you on this one. I got you. I got you.
Okay. All right. So anyway. Okay. So I'm just going to say, and I'm going to let Dread take us out. I am just going to say this. I know that we probably pissed off people and all of you guys who were listening. I wish you guys, said something, because I'm pretty sure we're going to hear it later in the comments on the replay or whatever. But we both, Dread and I, agree on this. January 6th was deplorable. It was an insurrection. We again put the word out and invited people to come on and give their point of view. We had no takers, which is fine. But the way I say it, if you put in the comments later, I watch you all did this, you had the opportunity to be part of this show. Dread?
To anybody watching, we're friendly, we're rational, we'll listen to you. But January 6th is a day in history that shouldn't be on the history books, because people died. And we can only imagine what would have happened if members of Congress were not able to get away. Those were not peaceful protesters. They were insurrectionists, and it was a mob. And if you look up historically, what white male-driven mobs have done, they have caused chaos. They have caused destruction. They have caused death. And on that day, they tried to do a death to our democracy, and it was unacceptable. And Donald J. Trump led that mob with his hateful rhetoric. And he should not be our commander-in-chief again. Because if he gets reelected in the 2024 election, our country will change, and not for the better. And if he doesn't get elected in the 2024 election, we're going to see January 6th 2.0. And we may see things go down in nationwide. So let's stop the harm from first do no harm. They tell doctors first do no harm. They should have told our commander in chief that too. And with that, I want to thank you all for being here on this Saturday. We love you all. To the live people, thank you. Join us again next Saturday, same time as always.
And on that note, peace.